Hey, this is Jarrod Anderson with Apex Combat Solutions. If you really want to learn how to level up your life, you should be listening to the Time to Shine Today podcast with my good friend Scott Ferguson. Let's level up.
Time to Shine Today podcast Varsity Squad. This is Scott Ferguson, and we're at episode 374 with my homeboy here in Florida, BJJ Black Belt, also the owner of and the founder of Apex Combat Solutions. And Jarrod Anderson is his name, and he has got a passion for wanting to help law enforcement officers and civilians become more capable of defending themselves and thriving in maybe unfortunate situations. Jarrod is, again, he's won a ton of Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, BJJ, accolades, awards, medals, and whatnot. He's someone that I immensely respect. I've had the pleasure, and not really a pleasure because I got smashed, but I had the pleasure of having a couple roles with Jarrod, and he's such a great teacher. He's just a beautiful human being inside and out, humble, yet just a complete savage. So if you're looking to kind of level up your mindset with regards to protecting yourself, protecting your family, then make sure you give a good listen. Make sure you head over to his YouTube page. And if you know nobody else out there that might need this, which I'm sure there is, especially in this day and age, share it, like it, because there are people out there that need it. It really helps my sponsors and affiliates as well, and to keep me bringing great content to you. So without further ado, sit back, relax, break out your notebooks, digital note takers, whatever you got, because here comes our really good friend from Apex Combat Solutions, Jarrod Anderson. Let's level up. Time to Shine Today podcast Varsity Squad. This is Scott Ferguson, and I got like a homeboy here in South Florida. And I'm super stoked to bring it to you. It took a while to get him on because the dude's busy. His name's Jarrod Anderson, and he's the owner of Apex Combat Solutions. And over at Apex Combat Solutions, they're created to provide effective combatives training courses for law enforcement and civilians. Their courses are based on methods and principles that have been pressure tested for over 20 years of competitive martial arts and force-on-force training. And it's being taught and it's owned by my good friend here, Jarrod Anderson, who's also kind of one of my jiu-jitsu coaches as well. And he's got a lot of accolades within the jiu-jitsu world, from winning the Pan Americans. He was third at the Worlds. He competed in a bunch of fight to wins. And overall, squad, he's just pretty much a badass, but he's also the nicest guy you'll ever meet. That's always how it goes. It's always the nicest dude you don't mess with, dude. So, Jarrod, thank you so much for coming on. Please introduce yourself to Time to Shine Today podcast Varsity Squad. But first, what's your favorite color and why?
Favorite color, I would have to say, is blue.
Blue. Probably from that Atlantic Ocean that we have.
Yes.
He's a little bit here. Now, are you a Floridian?
I am not a Floridian.
Oh,
well,
really?
I guess I am now. I've been here long enough, I think.
Right.
No, I was born in Georgia.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then I lived in Kansas City and Missouri for a little while as a kid.
Okay.
And then I grew most of my time in Minnesota. So I went to elementary, junior, and high school in Minnesota, and then moved to Florida in 2009.
Oh, 2009? Okay.
Yep.
Very cool. So, yeah, you're pretty much, whenever you say 10 years, you can kind of say, you've seen the changes that's happened down here.
For sure.
This is my 10th year down here.
Okay.
Moving from Michigan, and it's like, man, just the changes that we see here.
Yeah, definitely. It's a different world.
Yeah, man. So let's get into the roots of stuff, because like I saw pictures of you back in the day, and you're a pretty husky dude.
Oh yeah.
Kind of like still probably pretty much badass, but you're kind of a husky guy. And then when did you really kind of take up the Brazilian Jiu Jitsu? And Scott, we're going to call it BJJ.
Sure.
When did you take up BJJ?
So I've been in martial arts my whole life. My dad was a martial artist and, old school badass. And so he trained me a little bit, like just to make sure I could defend myself. Sure. But I was really big into the UFC. And even in probably 2004, 5, 6, 7 in high school.
Okay.
I was watching UFC 1. And I saw Royce Gracie, and I was like, you know what? I love that. And I was always more naturally tuned for grappling, fights and stuff that I got in. I was a grappler. Okay. Mm-hmm. But so I started watching Royce Gracie, and then Minnesota at that time didn't have a lot of places to train. So in 2009, I packed up, I moved to Florida, started training at a gym here in West Palm Beach. And that's where I met our friend Eric. Yeah. And then the rest is history, man. It just kind of blew up from there. I fell in love with it.
It's crazy how tight the squad is. No matter what direction you guys go, with like you and like kind of Eric and Tubby and Mikey.
Sure.
It's just funny how you guys, no matter which directions you guys go, you guys all circle back because you guys are kind of a big family. And I enjoy that. I had that with wrestling, and it was like, so I see the guys I would wrestle with before, and it's just kind of like we went our separate ways, but it's just so cool. The flavor that you guys have here with martial arts, man. So you moved into the martial arts world. You competed at very high levels, won at very high levels, or placed at very high levels. What got you into really rolling into like the kind of the self-defense? And thank you for doing it back in the blue, by the way, with the police officers. But what really got that kind of
my jiu-jitsu instructor when I was a purple belt, he kind of started changing his ways of the gym and started focusing more on self-defense, which at first I was like, oh, this shit ain't gonna work, this is bullshit. And then and nowadays I still think that.
Right.
but it really made me start to think like, what is actually gonna work in a real fight? And this was even before I started introducing weapons into the play as well. But what's going to work in a real fight? You can't be sitting there you can't pull guard, can't try to berimbolo someone. You're going to get your head kicked in. And so you have to be able to have a very basic jiu-jitsu game that follows certain principles, position, and not even necessarily submission when you start getting into the realm of weapons-based training, because you're going for a submission, the guy's trying to stab you.
Right.
So there's a lot of like task first priority type stuff going on where you need to kind of maintain good positioning and isolate limbs to win and survive and control. But it really struck a couple of years ago when I was trying to become a police officer. And so I started getting into more and more training and tactical stuff with firearms and combatives. And my good friend Ruben owns Paradox Training Solutions. And that's, you see me with the headgear on and they're shooting sim rounds at everyone.
Yeah.
That's his company. And that's what really struck me to get, start improving my overall combatives and jiu-jitsu for, realistic situations.
I heard you say task versus positioning. Let's unpack that a little bit. Like,
okay,
how does that roll forward into? It seems pretty basic, but
sure,
like maybe you and a little bit me, with saying it. But can you unpack that a little bit and explain what you mean by that?
So it's task versus priority, right? So in jiu-jitsu, your task is to obviously get a good position and try to get the submission, which is important. But in the realm of when there's a potential knife at play, you can't go hunting for the submission because like, let's say, and this actually is played out in some force on force scenarios. Let's say I'm on your back and I'm hunting for that rear naked choke. So both my arms are occupied getting to your neck. Your arms are free. So you can reach in your waistband, draw your weapon and shoot behind me and shoot me in the head.
Right.
And so because I was so focused, I'm going to choke this guy out, I didn't control your limbs. You were still able to do what you had to do, even though I was on your back trying to choke you.
Right.
And so that's what we talk about when we're doing these weapon-based entanglements is like, I'm not looking for any kind of submission unless I've already disarmed the person or something along those lines. So in that type of situation, controlling the weapon or controlling the limb that's holding the weapon is the number one priority.
Okay. Yeah. So with that being said, if you're in a position of, we'll just say a lack position where you are at a disadvantage in that moment, or is that also something really big at Apex that you really kind of going over to get out of that moment to get to more advantageous position?
Yes. And because a lot of the stuff that I do is like, we're talking about like, even if you're just a civilian that conceals and carries, like a lot of the times, or law enforcement, you're seeing officers present their weapon when they're too close to the person. That's like learning when's the right time to present your weapon as well. If you're tied up and you're grappling with the person, but you don't have any kind of control over their limbs, it's not the right time to draw your weapon. Not that you can't put your weapon into play because now they can grab your weapon and take it from you. So if you're in a bad position, that weapon's staying away.
Sure.
And you gotta defend yourself using your own hands and improve your position and get to a point where you can start to present the weapon.
Right. You said to me before, even in the couple roles that we've had, you said, Fergie, like position over submission.
100%.
Right. And so, especially at my level, right?
Yeah.
Versus you can go hunting him in a competition, but that's pretty much paramount is what you're kind of saying in layman's terms
for jiu-jitsu as a whole,
right?
Definitely.
And also maybe in the combat as well, you want to maintain a superior position.
Position. Yep.
Okay. Gotcha.
Because what does a superior position mean? It means you're establishing control over your opponent. Now that's everything included. That's leverage, that's the angles, that's everything that you need to win that fight. Like in boxing, they say, okay, hit that angle, so but what does that mean? In a fighting realm, the angle is the positioning of your hips in conjunction to the position of your opponent's hips. Okay. So if I need to win the angle, I need to offset my hips so that I'm still facing my opponent, but his or her hips are not facing me. Does that make sense?
So you pull them off their angle while you keep
exactly,
yours.
And that gives me the leverage and the everything for me to stay in that advantageous position.
Gotcha.
And that translates to fighting in general, whether it's self-defense, combatives, or a jiu-jitsu match or a boxing match.
So do you work some one-on-one in this combat? I know you teach privates with BJJ, but let's stay with Apex. Do you teach one-on-ones or are you more group?
I'm starting off as more group, but I have taught privates, for this stuff also. I've got a couple law enforcement officers that do privates with me as well. And this is all stuff that we go over.
Okay. So maybe while you're kind of like, when you meet somebody, you're not just like, hey, get in line. You probably have a nice little chat with them and whatnot. And when you're talking to them, what do you think most of the law enforcement people or, the professionals, when they come in, what do you think their biggest blind spot is when it comes to, I guess really apprehending somebody or taking them down or however you want to put that?
I think it's all of it. And, there's, you're starting to see more cops start training jiu-jitsu, like I said, which is a big positive, but it depends, a lot of it has to do where they're training. Are they training, sport jiu-jitsu where they're going to be just pulling guard every class and not really working things that are going to work in the street?
Right.
And they're developing habits that are good in a sport realm, but that are bad in an actual combatives realm. But like I said, any training is good.
Sure.
But I think the biggest thing is a lot of them don't know anything, and they're not, and you can tell by like all the body cam footage and the videos that come out of officers, getting attacked or, getting punched and stuff like that. They're not comfortable going hands-on.
Right.
And I think that's the biggest thing and that's what my mission is to try to help officers get more comfortable and capable of going hands-on and having less reliance on tools such as tasers, pepper spray guns, whatever.
Sure. So how do you help them, and maybe like some of your secret sauce, if you don't mind sharing, to help them maybe like within that blind spot, if they're used to a certain way, like what is your technique to really get them involved? Because every time I see you on Instagram at Paradox, dude, it's like, bro, you guys are just beating the shit out of each other, right?
Well, you know what? And that's kind of the wake-up call, because I mean, we get black belts that come to these classes that think that their black belt is going to help them, which gives them a slight edge. But as soon as there's weapons in play, they're back to being a white belt.
Right.
And I've seen that with really good black belts. And my first time doing it, it happened to me. I got shot to shit with the sim rounds.
Those sims hurt,
because they do. Yeah. They definitely give it a little sting.
Yeah.
And but and that made me start to adapt my game a little bit for more weapons based grappling.
So the best advice really would be is like just show up, check the ego. And
so what my course is my course is like an icebreaker that leads into like the Paradox Training Solutions course.
Gotcha.
And so like because it can be intimidating if you've never done combatives before and you watch one of those videos, you're gonna be like, what the fuck? I'm never doing that.
Right.
But that's my training leads into that training.
Okay.
So I kind of let them build a baseline, and then they can start to pressure test it in that scenario.
Gotcha. So is Apex going to be part of the combatives that you work with Ruben, or how is that set up?
Not officially. Like, we're not partners or anything.
Okay.
He's a really good buddy of mine. He supports
Sure.
me 100%. I support him 100%.
Absolutely.
And I actually talked before I launched the company, I talked to him to kind of get his blessing for it.
Okay.
Because I want to be able to help as many officers and civilians as possible become more capable.
Love it, man.
And so if I can help a group of people build a baseline so that they're not lost when they get to that. So it's like,
sure,
people that do mine are going to be guided and pushed to doing the paradox stuff as well.
Love it. I love it. So you're actually just kind of taking a white belt in a sense, right?
Yeah.
And just making them almost kind of a blue purple before they maybe take the advanced steps. Awesome. Yes. So when you're starting to work with someone, Jarrod, or, is there any good question that you wish they would ask you but never do?
I definitely like getting questions. To pick out a specific one, I can't really think of one.
Gotcha.
But like, I like when they're asking me questions, I know they're engaged.
Okay.
Like, and I always tell that even for my jiu-jitsu classes, like, does anybody have any questions? And nobody raises their hand. People have a million questions, but nobody comes out. No one wants to be the one that asks the question. Yeah. So I think, that's something that if I can encourage people, like, ask me any question. If something happens to you, DM me. I'm an open door. I'm happy to help anybody that messages me.
Sure.
Or if you send me a video, I'll give you my opinion on it.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing about me is, like, I'm not going to be like, whoa, if you pay me for a private lesson, then I'll show you what to do. I'm not like that. I'm not, I didn't start Apex to become rich. Obviously making more money is a good thing.
Absolutely.
But, like, if I can help someone, that's a victory for me.
Dude, you're doing what you love in the service of people that love what you do. That's how I was taught. Like, when I get into coaching, it's like, I love coaching, right? But other people that I coach love that I coach. You know what 100%. I'm saying? Which that's what you're doing, because your passion is overflowing into different branches, if you will, of that. Yeah. So Jarrod, have you ever seen the movie Back to the Future?
Yes.
Okay. Let's get in that DeLorean with Marty McFly, man. Let's go back to the double deuce, the 22-year-old Jarrod.
Yes.
Okay. What kind of knowledge nuggets, we call him here at Time Shine today, what kind of knowledge nuggets might you drop on him? Not so much to change anything, because your journey's been pretty freaking awesome, right? But to maybe shorten a learning curve.
Yeah.
Last through. And it doesn't have to be martial arts, man. It could be about life.
Well, the funny thing with me is that at that time, when I started training when I was 20, right? So training seriously. All of the bad shit, all the partying and stuff, I did before that. Like, I was a very young partier. And so if I could tell anything to the 22-year-old me, I would say just, stay the course, because obviously it eventually paid off. There was a lot of times where I had doubts, but I always knew that if I stuck with jiu-jitsu, it would lead me to better things.
Yeah. Okay.
And, competitively, life, spiritually, physically, mentally, everything. Like, yeah. And you know what, it did. It led me to the life I have now, which, I have a phenomenal job. I have a, beautiful fiance, amazing son.
Yeah.
And it's, it led me to where I am now. I don't like to look back and regret.
Yeah.
If I could tell the 18-year-old me something,
put the beer down, bro.
I'd fucking smack him in the head and tell him to, get your shit together.
Yeah.
But, because that version of Jarrod was an asshole who just liked to party and get drunk and, get in fights with his friends. And it was, so
like a freight train to the grave, man.
Exactly.
If you're not careful.
I truly, and I tell this openly to anybody, I truly believe that if I wouldn't have committed to jiu-jitsu when I did, and, fully commit like I did, I'd be in jail or dead. 100%. I believe that.
I love that you're transparent in admitting that, because when people will ask me, because they know I grappled my whole life, and as I'm in my jiu-jitsu journey, they're like, what is it about it? Like, I get asked on interviews because they see me posting here and there, and I'm like, dude, jiu-jitsu's life. Like, it just really, it's just the closest martial art to me It's like life, dude, because I've never before had somebody that's Toro, and Toro's a friend of mine in Jarrod's that's, 160 pounds and I'm 260, to hold me down and make me feel like I can't breathe and I'm drowning. And that's what the best learning experience is. Once I learned to show up when I walk in the door and have a mind of learn and not know, everything just opened up, dude. And I'm starting to process stuff differently with that. And I'm sure there's a lot of that would go forward with Apex as well, that if you show up with the learn attitude and not that you know anything, you'll grasp the techniques that you're teaching.
100%. Because if you start jiu-jitsu, or if you're a police officer looking to start more realistic combatives training, if you go in there with an ego, it's gonna get checked.
Yeah.
That happens. I've never seen anyone with an ego not get checked, when they start training. And the ones that are a little bit more intelligent, that have that ego, they understand. They're like, oh shit, I need to learn this stuff.
I don't know anything.
There's a lot of people that do try it, that they get their ass kicked that first day, or they get choked out by a girl when there's some big bodybuilder, and they won't come back. Their ego can't handle that defeat, and so
that's
they'll
where
just keep doing their thing.
I'm actually different, where when I show up, people were afraid, because again, I'm a big dude, right?
You're a big guy,
and people,
and a wrestler,
right? And people would be like, "Oh, dude, I want to roll with you, man." I'm like, "Dude, I'm not the spaz." Like, you get a lot of those. Like, I was very controlled, and now that I've been there a bit, they're like, "All right, Fergie can roll because he's not just gonna spaz out," and that's where he's
the gentle giant,
right? When I walk into place, I'm Midwest, like you lived in Kansas
for
City,
sure.
Like I gave hugs. I give hugs. I meet people. I give hugs.
Absolutely.
And everyone has angles. I don't. I just freaking love life. And going forward with life, man. How do you want your dash remembered? That little line in between your incarnation date, your expiration date, your life date and death date. Hopefully it's way down the line, Jarrod, because this world needs people like you. But how does Jarrod want his dash remembered?
You know what? I want to be remembered as, a good man who took care of his family and helped others. If hopefully, like you said, far along from now, if people can remember me that as, being a good person, someone who loved his family, supported his family, was good to his family, and was able to use his gifts to help others. Shit, that's a fucking great life.
Hell yeah, man. That's badass. So what do you think people misunderstand the most about Jarrod?
I can sometimes have a bit of an attitude.
Okay. Oh,
believe it or not.
No. Okay.
So like and I can be very short at times. Like, I'm not the type of person that's gonna, if we're in a discussion and it's not something I'm interested in, I probably come off like an asshole.
Okay.
Because and that's not a jab at anybody else's, favorite things and stuff like that. It's just, I'm so passionate about the things that I'm passionate about that I don't put a lot of thought towards anything else.
Right.
So people probably think I'm an asshole.
Have you ever picked up a step that really worked for you from a lower belt?
Absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely.
Can you guys an example, like something that maybe might have happened?
A lot of it is just getting like the reactions, because for me, like, my game is heavily reliant on how people are reacting and what they're doing when I'm doing what I'm doing.
Okay.
And I think white belts have very awkward reactions. I'll start all the way at the bottom. I learned from white belts and that's going to give you a realistic approach for self-defense, because
with Apex,
the chances of me having to fight another black belt at the bar or on the street is probably never going to happen.
Right.
We're not black belts, or anybody that has self-control and does martial arts and stuff.
Right.
Probably isn't walking around getting wasted looking for a fight.
Right.
Granted, there are some exceptions, but for the general, no.
Right.
And so you're going to get reactions from a white belt the same way you would get if you fought some random person.
Right.
Or they're going to spaz out for a few seconds.
Wow.
They're going to spaz out for a few seconds.
Yeah.
you're going to get a good position.
Yeah.
They're going to spaz out a couple more seconds until they gas out. And then it's going to be like, I'll take that. I'll take that. I'll take that. It's like at that point, it's like training with a baby.
Right. Right.
You play with them, you toss them up in the air.
Dude, you're so right with you saying that most high level practitioners, they're not walking around saying, "Oh, that's Jarrod Anderson and I'm Scott Ferguson. I'm a black belt." You're going to probably walk up and fist bump and be like, "What's
fucking
up?"
hug it out. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's the truth. It's usually the people that have that chip, man. So did anything keep you up at night?
Not so much anymore. I try to, when it comes to bedtime, like I sleep, I can go to sleep like that.
Okay.
But I think that's because yeah, thank God. But I think that's because just having a good mental focus, like sometimes I'll, like when I was building the website, I'll be up till 2 a.m. building the website. But I think that's more about just like, I don't like to leave things hanging. So it's like, if I start building a website, I'm going to finish it in a day.
No, you're flexing that hustle muscle, man.
And stuff like that.
Times for that, but you have that superpower. Like my Susan, dude. Like I can time her. We'll get in bed and 8 seconds. I'm like, dude, So I'm getting better because I really worked on the sleep hygiene lately. But I'm getting better, man. But
extremely important.
Oh yeah. So Jarrod, what is your definition of a life well lived?
Well, kind of like we talked about earlier, for me, a life well lived is if I can, obviously be able to support my family and live comfortably and do what I love.
Yeah.
Time well spent.
That's the best, man.
When you don't have for me, that's the American dream.
Dude, living a life of options, not obligations, right, man?
Yeah.
It's like
support. If I can support my family and support having a comfortable future and do what I love and help people.
Hell yeah,
that's all I need in life.
That's every day that I wake up. It's like, dude, who do I get to serve? I serve 100%. I serve myself the first 90 minutes. I'm 51 years old now, dude. And like, I'm up and I'm on my trampoline. I take the cold shower. I got a cold plunge outside. Like
that's awesome.
I do that 5 days a week, dude, because at 51, I have to do it. If not, the synovial fluid.
You take care of your body. Your body takes care of you.
Absolutely, man. It's my temple, man. I have to take care of it. Time to Shine Today podcast Varsity Squad. We are back. And Jarrod, you and I have had lunch. We've talked. And I'm sure we might have talked about a couple of these questions at length, but at Time to Shine today, you got 5 seconds with no explanations, and they can all be answered that way, brother. You ready to level up?
Let's do it.
All right, Jarrod. What is the best leveling up advice you've ever received?
Do what you love and try to find a way to make money doing it.
I love it, and also just show up. That's beautiful. Jarrod, share one of your personal habits that contributes to your success.
I become obsessed with whatever I'm doing, and that can sometimes be bad, in terms of spending family time and stuff, but I'm obsessive. So like if I'm doing something, if I'm trying to become better at something, that's 100% what I'm doing.
Beautiful. You see me maybe kind of walking down the street. You're like, man, Fergie looks like he's in his doldrums a little bit. What book might you hand me to level me up?
You know what? I like Think and Grow Rich, How to Win Friends and Influence People, The Power of Positive Thinking. Yep.
Oh, nice. My man, dude. You got to come check out my library. I got them all, man.
I'm slowly building mine up.
Good deal, man. Your most commonly used emoji when you text?
So there's an emoji where it's like the people's eyebrow or the rock eyebrow.
The rock.
I use that one probably more than anything.
Love it. Nicknames growing up?
J-Rod.
J-Rod, love it. New Year. Did you make a New Year's resolution this year?
Yeah, my New Year's resolution was to start Apex and launch Apex, getting the courses going.
All right.
And start to lose weight. I gained a lot of weight when I went from teaching jiu-jitsu full time to, working for
building a business
company. Yeah, and building a business. So lose weight, and then I'm always trying to be able to be a better provider for my family.
Love it. Quickly, what is a hidden talent or superpower that you have that no one knows about?
Oh, a lot of people know, but I'm pretty good at doing uh like impersonations.
Nice, man.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
I
Love
can
it.
I can do all kinds
You
of
can channel
languages.
people. Beautiful. Chess, checkers, or Monopoly?
Well, because I don't know how to play chess, so
Okay.
I have to say checkers.
Beautiful. Headline for your life, quickly.
Headline for my life. A life well lived.
Love it, man. That's beautiful. Go-to ice cream flavor.
Mint chocolate chip.
Dude, there's a sandwich called the Jarrod Impersonator. Build that sandwich for me.
It's going to be probably some chicken, some provolone, some tomatoes, onions, lettuce, maybe some aioli or ranch, one or the other.
I throw some man candy on there, a little bacon, bro.
Oh, you know what? Definitely some bacon.
So favorite charity and or organization you like to give your time or money to?
Honestly, I'll donate to any charity that either helps military, helps fight human trafficking,
Yeah.
or supports law enforcement. Like those are my big three.
That's beautiful, man. Last question, and you can elaborate on this one, but what's the best decade of music? 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s?
I'd have to say probably 80s and 90s.
There you go, my guy. That's what we hang out. Good stuff, Jarrod. So, Jarrod, how can we find you, brother?
So you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, for Apex Combat Solutions.
Okay.
And then that's pretty much it.
Yeah, and it's apexcombatsolutions.com. It's APEX Combat Solutions with an S.com. You have to check it out. He does have an upcoming event April 8th. I don't know if this show will actually drop by then, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to have Jarrod keep up with the schedule. And anytime a new schedule comes up to my law enforcement people out there or anybody that's really looking to level up their self-defense, I'll make sure that you're notified of that as well. And I know that he's going to be building out a YouTube channel. He's going to do like a lot of kind of instructionals. Like there's something that I like to watch and I buy instructionals from called BJJ Fanatics. He's kind of setting it up on a platform like that where he might have a voice overlay while he's actually doing the techniques, or he might teach them just straight to the camera. But I'm super, super stoked for that. And I can't wait till he sets up like a subscription service for something like that. I can't wait. Since Jarrod just, every day he's just growing. So, Jarrod, if you could do me one last solid and leave us with one last knowledge nugget we can take with us, internalize, and take action
on. I would have to say for all my law enforcement people out there, just go train. Don't wait for something bad to happen. Don't wait for your agency to pay for something or offer something. Go out there on your own and do it, because it's going to be not just for your, well-being and safety, but for your mental work as well. And then the same goes for civilians.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of stresses and problems that we all have that can be fixed by training jiu-jitsu. And you can call me biased, but I truly believe that, because
I am 100%. When I showed up on the mats, dude, I was 292 pounds.
I remember.
I'm coming down to the 240s now. That's awesome. I'm getting down there. So I'm a huge testament to that. And squad, we just had a fun conversation. Really good friend of mine locally here in South Florida, but also somebody that I respect immensely, Jarrod Anderson. He comes from a background of rowdy dowdy and really committed his life to Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, which again, to me, Jiu Jitsu is life. It's going to smother you. Your mind has to be a puzzle. You've got to solve problems. And we have guys like Jarrod and others down here. They will help you walk through it. But then he leveled up into Apex Combat Solutions. So he's helping the law enforcement, which, I back the blue. I donate a ton of money a year. I do anything that I can to back the blue. And with Jarrod, he's really going and teaching them task versus priority, maintaining position, understanding the superior positions and establishing control from angles and leverages is what it's all about. I can't get technical about it, squad. That's why I have my guy Jarrod here. And he wants you to know that you don't know what you don't know. Okay, so when you go into someplace, whether you're going into Apex or any martial arts, walk in, check the ego at the door, and learn. Not go in there with no, because when you learn, your actual frontal cortex actually swells and you start to retain information. if you go in to learn. If you think you know your shit, you're going to get waxed by somebody else. It's just how it goes. And that even goes for Jarrod. If he used to walk into somewhere, he goes in with no ego and he wants to learn, and if you're working with an instructor, any question's a good question. Now, if you're going to ask the same question over and over again when he's explained it to you, that's not good. I'm talking about new questions and really putting it to work and doing what you need to do. And Jarrod is somebody that does what he loves. And listen to this, squad. He does what he loves in the service of people that loves what he does. They see that he loves what he does. So that's why Jarrod's going to just climb this mountain and he's going to be world known. I guarantee it. He wants you to stay the course. That's what he would tell his younger self. Stay the course. When you find something you love, stay the course. And if you don't know, like I say, get your asking gear. Ask. There's people out there like myself that can make an introduction to my good friend Jarrod, and he'll help you get along. He's going to be remembered as a good man, a fantastic husband, a fantastic father. I mean, this dude is planting trees he's never going to sit in the shade of. And that's, again, why I immensely respect Jarrod. And Jarrod also wants you to go train, get better. Don't wait. And like I say, work your day job, but mind your own business. Work your day job. You might be a cop, but I guarantee you that there's a side hustle or something that you need to level up in you to be a better cop. So work your day job, but mind your own business. So that's what my good friend Jarrod does here. He levels up his health. He levels up his wealth. He's humble, yet he's hungry. He's earned his varsity squad letter here at Time to Shine today. Thank you so much, Jarrod, for coming on. I absolutely love your guts, brother.
Thank you, Scott. Appreciate you.
Chat soon.
Hey, thanks so much for listening to this episode of Time to Shine Today podcast. Proudly brought to you by Sutter & Nugent Real Estate Excellence, who can be reached at 561-249-7266 and online at www.sutterandnugent.com. If you're a business owner or professional who would like to be interviewed on Time to Shine Today, please visit timetoshinetoday.com/guest. If you like this episode, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts. There's a link in the show notes to our website. Also there, you will see our recommended resources. We hope that you will support our show by supporting them. If you like what you've been listening to, it'd be great if you could just give us a 5-star rating and tell your friends how to subscribe while you're at it. I'm your host, Scott Ferguson, and until next time, let's level up. It's our time to shine.